I'm so happy to be here with you guys again today. I want to see too what this looks like on our page actually before we get started. And that's super interesting because it doesn't show up for me. Oh, technology, how you vex me sometimes. It's truth. I'm sure you guys know what that feels like as well. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here with you. We're going to wait for just a minute till some of you join me. I know that you're waiting to know that I'm live to join over here, and so I'm going to hang out here. And I love that I can actually see who's here now with this lovely swipe thing that Facebook has going on. Hi, Elle. How are you? I wonder if I have to hit that plus too. So interesting. Anyway, I'm just waiting for a moment or two or five, and we will see what happens here. Not a big fan of running it on my monitor separately. Hi, Corinne. Hi, Jude. Welcome. This is not as, hi, Pat. So this is very interesting. I'm just going to say this. So if you guys don't do live, at the bottom of my screen, I can see live viewers as opposed to what, I don't know, dead viewers. And so it shows that there are, it shows me your little profile pictures for 4 of you. And then it says +3, like as if there were more of you. But it doesn't show me those. So it's very confusing. Oh, Facebook. Facebook. Which I just love. So we're just going to keep waiting for a sec. Hope you guys are doing well today. I don't want, this is crazy strange. Wow. Guys, just hang on a sec. Facebook is showing all sorts of wacko things. Much better. It's nice to be able to see your little faces that way, but then I can't see your comments. So I really don't know what the point of that is. Hi, Pat. Welcome. I see that you've joined. So, okay, I think I'm in a much better place. Hello, Petra. I can't wait to see your face in a couple of days, even if it is going to be by video. So happy that you guys are here, really, to talk about mistakes. Mistakes. I still have a little throat thing going on. Allergies. I don't know if you guys have allergies, but they are horrible here on the East Coast this year. And I even had a reaction at the allergist the other day, which was not a lot of fun. My allergist said, yeah, we shoot you with your allergen and then you walk outside into it, which is just all fascinating. Okay, so since some of you are here and I've said hello, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to this Facebook Live gathering, and thank you guys for being understanding and for making time to come today, because I had to reschedule because I was not well. I couldn't even talk this well a couple of weeks ago. And happy Administrative Professionals Day. I absolutely include all admins, virtual or in person, in that category. And today is a special day to celebrate all of you. This calls for cake. I really think it does. I hope that your clients, the people you work with, celebrate you today. I celebrate every one of you all day long. Well, I celebrate every one of you all the time. But today's special day, I think that you deserve some special props. So holla. I'm so happy that you do what you do in the world, and that you are who you are in the world, and that you offer all that you do. Because people like me, people like your clients, people like your bosses, if you have them, they couldn't do this stuff without you. They couldn't do what they do in the world. So big props, especially on today. And please go have some cake or whatever makes you happy, because it is your special day. So mistakes. We're here for that. Mistakes, as long as there are humans in the mix, they're going to be mistakes because we are all perfectly imperfect and because life happens. I was going to make that a little dirtier and changed my mind. We can't do much to be less human or to prevent life from happening, but we can understand the mistakes that come out of those two elements. And we can understand why they happen, how to mitigate their impact to the extent that that's possible, and how to consciously learn and grow from them so that we make fewer and we feel more compassion for ourselves when we do make them, because we inevitably will make them. I think it's, it's just an impossibility that anybody gets through life without making a mistake. For those who don't know me, I'm Anastasia Bryce, founder of AssistU, and for nearly 20 years we've been training and coaching and supporting amazing women to create solid, sustainable, and profitable businesses as VAs, as well as working with the clients who love them. And I hope those clients love them a lot today. So today we're talking about mistakes, and I don't know a single person that when somebody calls me, maybe that's something that one of you can teach me, is how to actually make it so that people cannot actually interrupt this broadcast by calling me. I almost never get calls, but there we go. So chances are, if you're a VA, you really hate making mistakes or when mistakes happen in your work, whether you've made them or not, because you probably feel a very special need to be almost the guardian against them for your clients through having high standards, managing your time and yourself, and if you take care of a team, managing the team, having amazing documented processes, procedures, policies, all that good stuff that keeps things running fairly smoothly. And if you're like most small service businesses, and this is true across the board, especially with women that I've coached, I know that you worry at least a little bit that if you make mistakes, your clients might leave your practice. So that's an added little worry about when they happen. One of the best things you can do, and where I want to start us this morning, is in just admitting two things to ourselves. And the first one is that we're not perfect, and that perfectionism is really, it doesn't exist. I mean, there is no perfect. So holding ourselves or others to a standard of perfection that doesn't exist is a little crazy. Plus, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to try and be perfect, and for all of that stuff to go on like that, and everything that it entails, and the way it makes you feel, and if it doesn't work out, which it can't work out, then you feel even worse. So we're not perfect, and holding anyone to that standard is kind of crazy. And number two, life happens. So acknowledge those two things for yourself. Hold them, make them mantras, because they're absolutely universal truths. So life, let's talk about the life piece of that. Life really just happens. People get sick. The internet is slow. System gets hacked. Flight is delayed. Shit just happens, right? It just does. And when it does, mistakes are just a step away from being made, because you add into that fact, the fact that we're not perfect. See, it's so circular, those two things. And the thing that life sends our way that kind of just happened, it throws us into a strange spot. It's like a little hitch in our get along, right? And when there's a hitch in our get along, we have to make adjustments. And usually we have to make those adjustments on the fly, because again, life doesn't send you messages, hey, I'm going to do something to you later today, or something's going to happen later today. It just happens. And so you have to make an adjustment on the fly. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, that's where the mistakes happen really fast. It also doesn't help that no matter how good we think we are at shifting on the fly or flexing, the chaos of an instant adjustment. So it's not just impacting us, it's going to impact maybe people out there, it's going to impact team members, it's going to impact our client, maybe our client's clients. There's a lot of that. So there's chaos that comes from it. And that impacts our ability to be fully present and do our best work. And so let me say that one more time. No matter how good we think we are at shifting on the fly or flexing, the chaos of an instant adjustment impacts our ability to be fully present or do our best work. And given those realities that we're present, that we're not perfect, and that life happens, the best we can do for ourselves is gain a deep understanding of what mistakes are, how to deal with them effectively and efficiently, and how to learn from them and grow from them, including learning how to be kind and compassionate with ourselves and with others when they happen, so we can move beyond them, move out of the chaos they create and back into a better flow with ourselves and with our work. And that's where I really want to dive into the good stuff today. And so I'll take questions at the end for a bit. And so hold on to them and have them ready so you can ask me when I'm ready. And I'm happy to take loves and likes all along the way, because I can see those quickly and easily, and they let me know how this stuff is landing for you. You can also make the face or whatever face makes you happy. Just don't please make the mean I'm angry face. That would be sad. So the first thing to understand is that there are only 3 kinds of mistakes. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll go back and say more about them. The first is random human. The second is systemic repetitive. And the third, to do that in appropriate sign language, are intentional mistakes. So random human, systemic repetitive, and intentional. Random human, those are absolutely the I'm flawed and perfectly imperfect or life happens mistakes. The good thing about them is that they're easy to learn from. The bad thing about them is that they're impossible to see coming. You never see them coming. Systemic repetitive, these are mistakes that happen when a system of some sort has a problem or a hole. And generally there are 3 causes for these as well. So the first one is that there are inadequate resources, and those resources would be like money or materials, or the people involved just aren't sufficient, like they're just not the right people, or there aren't enough people, or they're doing the wrong things. The second one is inadequate training. Training was provided but wasn't enough for the person to really get it or figure out how to do it correctly. And the third one is the inadequate administrative structures, which are not having the policies, the procedures, not having things documented, or not having a way to give feedback, or not knowing how to give feedback that's clear and useful, so that it all becomes ineffective. So when one of those elements is present, mistakes happen repeatedly, even when someone has the best of intentions. The third kind, the intentional ones, intentional mistakes have at their core a blatant disregard for the relationship. And it hurts my heart to even think about them, because what it means is someone purposefully, someone purposefully did the bad thing. Someone purposefully made a mistake. It's like sabotage. And if somebody gets to that place in a relationship that they want to damage or purposely cause something to be screwed up, that just hurts my heart. So it's not the mistake per se that's the problem here. I mean, obviously mistakes are always a problem, but it's not the big one. The big one is the attitude, the intentionality behind it. An intentional mistake is the only of these 3 kinds of mistakes that creates an immediate and often irreparable breach in trust. It just about kills everything good in the relationship in one fell swoop. When I was a kid, my mom taught me about how you build trust. And she likened it to opening a bank account. And she said, you want to make more deposits, lots and lots of deposits, very few withdrawals. That way you keep a positive balance and everything's good and life is good. And you can even make a couple tiny withdrawals along the way and it doesn't bankrupt the account. But if you do something to absolutely bankrupt the account, which is what happens with an intentional mistake, it's really hard to come back from. You generally don't have the funds to replenish it, so you can't rebuild the trust. It hurts. It's the worst thing ever. So in case that analogy helps at all with thinking about it, no client should tolerate intentional mistakes. And if you're running a team, you can't tolerate mistakes. And if you see yourself doing it, you really should be paying attention to that, because it really says that there's another action you should be taking, which is getting out of the relationship. If things have disintegrated in the relationship to the place where you want to hurt it, gotta go. So now you know how to recognize and categorize any mistake into those three places. And that's true for any mistake you see anywhere, anytime. If you know those three, you can say, oh, I get it. That's this kind of mistake. That's, shit happened. That's why this happened. Oh, we didn't have a procedure for that. That's why that happened. You can kind of do that. And that's really helpful, but it's helpful on a surface level. It's like the first place you can go in your head when something happens is categorize it, figure out what it was. What's equally important is challenging and shifting what you might think about mistakes. And I would go further by saying that helping your clients do this, learn to do this, will make your work easier long term. For instance, as I'm sure you know, there are a lot of people who, when they see a mistake, they find a mistake, they immediately go on the offensive. They immediately go to a place where what becomes most important is who did it and sort of pointing the finger. The language sometimes sounds something like, you did X and it broke Y and our clients are angry and I'm not happy. I'm not happy is such a horrible phrase to hear, isn't it? Because inside you go, oh crap, she's not happy. But that's a topic for another day, what's really going on. All of that may be absolutely true, but it is the piece to know about today is it's not helpful. The blame game is never, ever helpful. What you need, in addition to recognizing the kinds of mistakes you're seeing, and is to better understand how you may be holding it or thinking about them, and some shifts. So for people who tend to immediately want to place blame, the first shift to make is away from being reactive, away from being, somebody did it and I'm going to find out who it was and to give her what's what, to a more immediate, blameless head and heart space that gives the benefit of the doubt, allows a conversation without pointing fingers, and asks what happens rather than assuming anything. From that space, when you're in that space, you can actually hear the answer you get because you're not stuck in what you assumed, and then you'll know more about what to do or say next. I'm pretty cool-headed when stuff happens. But if I'm tired, or I haven't eaten recently, or I'm not well hydrated, those are all big ones for me, I can have a pretty hot head. I can blow up really fast and go to that less, the words that's coming from me right now, which isn't necessarily the one that I want, but less evolved sort of place, less grown up sort of place, less high EQ sort of place, and immediately kind of become reactive. But it's because what's happening in my life, I'm not fully self-possessed in the moment. There's stuff that's off in where I am. But the thing that helps me, even in those moments, back away from that edge, rather than going, I'm going to find out who did it and tell her what's what. Instead of going to that place, the thing that helps me back out is to relax into remembering that the people that work with me were hand-chosen. They were chosen to be there. They were chosen for a lot of reasons, not just skill, not just how few mistakes they're going to make. They were chosen because I believe they've got my back. And so chances are, this is where I go in my head, chances are that it was a systemic, repetitive mistake. There's a hole in a process, and that allows me to just take a breath and step back. I go, okay, there's probably a hole in a process. Now I said don't make any assumptions, but in assuming just this amount, the wind goes out of my sails. That's why I do it. It's not a permanent assumption. It's just the assumption that, excuse me, the assumption that lets me cool down and slow my roll, no matter how initially upset I may be. And then when I ask what happened and I get the answer, I'm in a much better place to hear whatever that was. Even though, as I said, usually it really is a hole in the process. Tangential to that is something that I think every admin should create with their bosses or their clients from day one, and it's a hold harmless atmosphere. We've all heard of hold harmless agreements, which are the legal bits about what happens if the crap hits the fan. But this is about the energy in the relationship rather than something legal. It's a commitment that the two of you will make to the belief that all is well, and to the belief that neither of you would ever purposefully harm or do anything to damage the relationship or the work. It includes a promise to always extend the benefit of the doubt, no matter what, and to always put the relationship above any single event or challenge. I would absolutely write that into a client agreement. It's a good agreement to have, and it's a better one to live by. I've actually said to my VAs over time that I'm perfectly fine with mistakes, and I would urge every client to do that. People can't thrive. You guys know this, right? Let me know. Put up some thumbs if you do. You know that you just can't do your best work when you think that the other shoe's about to drop, right? If you think somebody's like watching you over here, you just can't, because you're worried constantly and you're reactive to that. As a client, I know that too. I mean, I know they can't work that way. They're human. I'm human. I know that I'm going to make mistakes and they're going to help me. And I want them to be able to make mistakes that I'm willing to help fix as well. What I found is that there are actually very few mistakes. What I would call mistakes. I find that there are things that happen, but I wouldn't call them mistakes. They happen because there was a hole in the process. How's that a mistake? That's just something, that happens a lot. Not a lot, but Nicole and I, my VA, Nicole and I, will be having conversations about things. And I'll say, how did that even happen? And she'll say, oh, that happened because we didn't know that this other thing over here could even happen. Okay, well, if you don't know that this thing over here can happen and something occurs because of it, it's not a mistake. It's a new thing. It's like seeing a baby giraffe for the first time. So I also find that whatever we call these things, whether they are actual mistakes or they're new things that you're seeing for the first time that cause challenges, in truth, the biggest impact is probably in your head. It's in your imagination. You start tripping down that path around, oh my God, then because of this is going to happen. This is going to happen. It happened to me last night. At AssistU, we have a private portal with forums and information and stuff like that. And I went in to change something and accidentally deleted something that I didn't even recognize I was deleting. And what happened was we have a center column with two sidebars. Suddenly, all of the three columns resized. And I couldn't fix it. And so I was going, oh my gosh, all of my community members, they're going to see this and they're going to wonder what's going on. And then they're all going to email me and da-da. No, I emailed our tech god, John, and he fixed it within 2 hours. It was crazy. I don't even know if anybody even saw it, but my head tripped me down that path around what was going to happen as a result of my doing something that actually was a mistake. I made a mistake. It was actually because I didn't go check to see if we had a procedure for doing what I was doing. That's what happened. I didn't look, and therefore I did what I thought I was doing, and I messed it up. Yay. There you go. But again, I'll get somebody to help me fix it. Then if he makes a mistake, I help him fix it. It's a great way to have a relationship. The hold harmless atmosphere also gives a person the freedom to do what I did last night, tell on herself when she makes a mistake. I mean, I immediately wrote to him and said, this is what I did. I don't know what I actually did, but this is what happened. It gives you the freedom to say, I screwed it up, or I did something, or I did this, and as a result, this other thing happened. And of course, telling on yourself is always the best course of action. It's so much better than having somebody find the mistake and having to come to you about it, especially if you already knew about it. And so having a hold harmless atmosphere allows you to feel safe doing that, knowing that you're not going to have your head chopped off, you're not going to be eviscerated for it. And again, that goes both ways. If your client feels safe telling you that she screwed something up, chances are she'll tell you. And you can be more proactive in how you help her fix that. We all know that you make more mistakes when someone's breathing down your neck. We already talked about that. So when we remove that breathing down your neck thing with the hold harmless atmosphere, there's no need for the breathing down your neck. If you believe, or if your client believes that everybody's got each other's back and you're all in this together, there's no need to watch each other. There's no need to sort of be a helicopter person. It just gives you permission to be who you are, human and imperfect. Another shift to make is from being responsible, spelled exactly the way that word's spelled, response, I-B-L-E, as in the one who did the thing or should have been watching the person who did the thing, to being responsible, A-B-L-E, response able, as in able to respond. Often you may not have had anything to do with what happened, nothing whatsoever. But your client is upset and turns to you to help her figure out what went on and come up with a solution. And if she hasn't learned what I'm sharing with you today, maybe she's sounding a little overwhelmed and just about a millimeter away from sounding like she thinks you should have been able to keep it from happening. But in truth, all she really wants is someone to take care of it, someone to look into it. And while you may not have been responsible, I-B-L-E, for making it happen, if you're able to hear that call for help and respond to it, you're going to be a hero. And that's going to be a huge deposit in that trust account. Absolutely. A third shift to make is from flying by the seat of your pants to having more documentation and updating of documentation, and then actually thinking to go use the documentation when you're doing things. When you work without clear written policies, processes, procedures, mistakes just happen. Okay, mini quiz time. Dun, da, da. So a mistake is made because there wasn't a clear written policy, process, or procedure. What kind of mistake do you think that would be? Which one of the three? Good one, Cynthia. Yeah, it's repetitive, systemic repetitive. The two of you together, Cynthia and Jude, you both said it. Yeah, awesome. Good, Corinne. Perfect. Yay, aces for everybody on the mini quiz. Another thing to understand about not having written documentation is that an organization in that situation, meaning without good written stuff, is always in some sort of chaos. And also that chaos brings a lot of drama. And so move away from that chaos and the ensuing drama to peace and more consistency through written documentation that's updated as it needs to be. And that's pretty consistently. You need to just constantly have your hand in your written stuff, making sure that when something changes, it gets updated. And then the other piece is make sure that it's shared with everybody who can possibly need it, including the client. I've talked with many VAs who think that they shouldn't share this stuff with the client, and I share it with the client because the client may need it. The client may need it at some point. She needs to know where to go to get it and to access her own stuff when she decides to stick her finger in the pot. So more documentation that's followed equals fewer mistakes, less drama, less chaos. Conversely, less documentation equals more chaos, more drama, more mistakes. And now you know how to recognize the three kinds of mistakes as well as some shifts to make around how you hold them. The next thing is to figure out how you fix them and even prevent them to the extent that you can. And that's the important third thing to know about this topic. We said that the hold harmless atmosphere makes it easier for someone to tell on herself. It also makes it easier to tell on something that you find that you believe is an error, or that someone else has maybe messed up and you don't even know who it is or how it happened. But before you do that, you want to examine and decide which one of the three kinds of mistakes it probably was. If it was intentional and someone else did it and you know who it was, that's a whole nother conversation. But I said, if you did it, if you made the intentional mistake and you realize it, the only thing you should be telling on yourself is, I'm sorry. It's clear to me through my actions that I should no longer be working with you. And we need to end our arrangement today. Today, not 3 weeks from now. If you're hurting the relationship, you owe it to your client to get out of Dodge. Get out of her way, get out of her stuff, get out before she has the opportunity to tell you to get out, because you need to recognize what you're doing, and that's just not okay. But if it was any of the other two types of mistakes, examine how it happened, what needs fixing, how it can be fixed so that it's never going to happen again, or most likely not going to happen again, to the extent that you can see the future. The crystal ball may be a little cloudy, but what you can see, you need to kind of make it so that you know it's not going to happen again. Then tell and share the solutions that you've come up with. And when you do that, you show yourself not only to be upright and ethical, but also proactive and responsible. And you build trust. Again, the most important piece of being in a relationship. You are, in the same way that it feels that if you feel like a client is watching you like a bug under a microscope, you tend to make more mistakes. When you admit to having made a mistake and you have a solution for it, or you point out something that you didn't have a part in, but you have a solution for, you also help the client relax. You help her feel safe. There's no reason, again, for her to be vigilant when she knows you have the best interest of the relationship and the work in mind, and that you're watching over things for her, yourself and other people, other situations. And you pair that with the whole harmless atmosphere, and there's some really good stuff that can happen in those relationships. The other important piece is that people who don't learn from their mistakes are doomed to repeat them. I'm sure you've heard that many times. But that's really some powerful truth right there. That right there, good stuff. So why does it seem that most of us repeat our mistakes? It's kind of crazy. Unfortunately, it's because we're human. There we go, back into our circle. Most of us don't stick around long enough to learn anything. Mistakes create uncomfortable situations and maybe even painful situations. And we humans, we don't like pain. We are not programmed to embrace pain, and we try to move away from it as fast as we can. So we end up repeating mistakes because we did the quick fix. We fixed what was happening in the moment, but we didn't stick around long enough to get the lesson. And, was it that we were moving too fast? Did we try to make things work with the wrong resources? What's the lesson? It's there. It's sitting right there for you to get. You just have to stay in the situation long enough to see it. Get the lesson before you move on. And if you have the unfortunate circumstance of not sticking around and getting the lesson the first time, and you repeat the mistake, let that be a lesson to you too. You really need to, sooner or later you'll realize, oh, I didn't get it last time. Let me get it this time so that I don't do it again. And a tip for those of you who are perfectionists, because I know you're there and I know you're watching, and for those of you who really take it hard when you make a mistake or there's something that happens on your watch, even if it's due to something you couldn't control, you know deep inside that it's not yours. I know you know that. It's not yours to feel badly about. Again, life happens, or it's a mistake that you can understand and correct so that it doesn't likely happen again. But what do you do about the funk that you can't seem to prevent, and that can unfortunately all on its own put you in a crazy spiral where other mistakes seem to just kind of show up? First, you need to know that funk is a mistake attractor. So you need to stay away from it. You can't be all mopey about the problem. You gnash your teeth, beat up on yourself. Oh, I suck. I suck. How did I do this? You can't do that and expect to attract anything other than more of what you're focusing on, which is the mistake. So you have to break free of it. You have to get yourself out of the crap. And one really smart way to do that nearly instantly is by accessing something that brings you joy. In order to use that, you need to figure out an easy, quick thing that brings you joy that you can always have access to no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing. The idea is that when you get in a funky place, you access whatever that thing is that you've identified, and you immediately start to feel, within moments, start to feel your energy shift. And the shift moves you out of the place, the mopey place, the place where you attract more negative elements, and puts you in a place to attract positive things. For me, it's my happy playlist on my phone. I know some of you are here and you know about my happy playlist. That playlist has songs on it that may not be considered happy songs, you know, in the mainstream, but for whatever reason, they trigger memories, or they just generally make me feel happy. They bring me a sense of happiness. I can access them anywhere. I've even gone so far, and I don't have a phone because I'm using my phone to do this. But if this were my phone, I've actually gone into a restroom with my phone, and I've turned it almost all the way down, just like one little bar of volume, and I've sat like this, listening to my happy playlist until the funk went away. You can do it anywhere. That listening thing. And if you had earbuds, it would be even so much easier, but I don't walk around with earbuds. So a few minutes listening to the playlist, or even one song that I've identified that just sort of grabs me as I'm looking at the playlist, and I'm out of that funk and back to where I should be. For you, it could be almost anything. It could be dancing. People might look at you a little funny, but you can absolutely dance with abandon pretty much anywhere you are, anytime you need to. Or it might be reading a poem you love, or you could keep some inspirational quotes on your phone that you access if that's what does it for you. Or maybe a folder of pictures or of people you love and things you love. Hugging an animal also works really, really wonderfully well. And it's great for those of us who work from home and have pets. It's not so great if you're out and about. People look strangely at you if you try to grab their pet and cuddle it in the middle of the street. So what you're really looking for is easy, quick access that you can do by yourself. There's also a great technique that I want to teach you that I learned from Bruce Cryer at HeartMath. And if you don't know HeartMath, which is heart, like the thing in your chest, math, like 2 + 2 = 4, heartmath.com. They're an organization that has confirmed that the heart has its own intelligence. And they teach things and make products that allow people to bring more of that intelligence into practical use in their lives. I love HeartMath. And this technique is powerful because it connects your head and your heart. When we're stressed or scared or anxious or upset, if we're in any negative emotional place at all, our heads and our hearts become disconnected. And what happens generally is that kind of negative space, it triggers our lovely reptilian brain. And that part of our brain immediately starts telling us that something bad is coming for us. And that leads you down a path of fear and worry and more anxiousness from whatever it started it. Now you're going down like this constantly. And you can't access any of the great wisdom of your heart. You can't access any real self-love or compassion because these two things are disconnected. They're meant to work in tandem. They're meant to be connected. And when they're disconnected, you get triggered with this. And we're purposefully and perfectly made this way because there was a day when animals were coming to get us and we needed our brains to tell us to run as fast as we could. Most of us don't live in a place anymore where we face that sort of real danger, but we still feel it. We still get activated that way. And one way that you can quiet that, you can do it a couple different ways. The way I'm going to teach you today is to reconnect your head and your heart so that you can access the combined smarty pants wisdom that they have for you. So let me teach you that now. I'm going to lead you through this. I just want you to start by sitting comfortably. You can close your eyes and listen to me, or you can keep them open. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to do anything fun or fancy while you're doing this. So first, what I want you to do is take 3 slow, deep breaths in and out. Next, I want you to put your hand over your heart, the place in your body where your heart is. This is just to sort of center you on your heart, on this thing that's beating in your chest. Now take 3 more slow, deep breaths. This time, focus your attention inside your body on this area of your heart. Just focus here. Focus on its beat, its rhythm, the fact that you're alive. Keep breathing slowly and deeply. And now I want you to think of a time when you felt unconditionally loved or unconditionally loving toward another. And that could be a person, it could be an animal, it could be anything, as long as you felt unconditionally loving toward it. And I don't just want you to remember the event or the moment that you're remembering. I don't want you to just think about the event that happened. I want you to feel how it felt to either be unconditionally loved there or to unconditionally love. And I want you to stay in that feeling place while you continue to breathe slowly and deeply for just a bit longer. Okay, now I want you to ease back into this moment with me. If you want to keep your hand over your heart a little longer, you can do that, or you can move it away, or sit naturally, whatever feels best for you. What you just did in having your head help you think of a time when you felt the unconditional love or loving is you actually reconnected these two. That's what just happened. And you may feel generally better if you sit and think about how you're feeling right now versus how you may have felt a minute ago. You may feel better. You may feel joyful. You may not be sure you feel anything at all. I can promise that if you do that connection exercise on a fairly frequent basis, you will ultimately and always feel better after you do it. And from that better feeling place, you can talk with yourself about what's really true about the mistake you made or the mistake you've seen, which is never going to be, never ever from this place, never going to be that you deserve to bang on yourself. Never. And it'll allow you to reach a place of equilibrium that will allow you to take good action, fueled literally by self-love and not by self-loathing. Okay, so what questions do you have, if any, about anything that I've talked about today? Thank you for the love. Love is good. While I wait, I'll see if you're typing, and I'll come back to this idea of questions in just a sec. But just to wrap up, here are the takeaways from today. Perfectionism sucks. You are perfectly imperfect, and life happens. There are 3 kinds of mistakes. Only one of them is an instant relationship killer. Blame is never helpful. So you should always try to give the benefit of the doubt and ask what happened rather than assuming. Create a hold harmless atmosphere with your clients. Write it into your client agreements. Move away from being responsible, necessarily, IBLE, to being response-able, ABLE. Figure the problem out and come with solutions before you approach the client to tell about it. Stay in the mess long enough to learn the lesson it holds for you. Have kick-ass, consistently updated documentation that you follow. Yeah, physician, heal thyself, right? Fewer mistakes equals less drama equals less chaos. Conversely, more chaos equals more drama equals more mistakes. When you find yourself in a funk over a mistake, access something that easily and quickly brings you joy. Do whatever you need to do to shift out of the funk as fast as you can. And you can never go wrong by taking the time to reconnect your head and heart, which, by the way, should take less than 5 minutes. I don't think I actually timed what it did for us then, but when you're doing it on your own, less than 5 minutes to get these two back in sync and to a place where you'll feel better. Pair that with some, whatever it is, my music, for example, and it's just, it's a remedy that will take care of any funk you feel, really. And that's it for today. So thanks for joining me. I hope you're taking something with you that helps you and maybe your clients. And feel free to share this with them too, if you think it would help them, because if you help them, you also help yourself. And I would love it if you'd leave a comment for me about your greatest takeaway, whatever that might have been. If you have questions today, later, feel free to leave them for me. I'll check back through next week and answer anything you may ask. And remember, whatever you ask probably will help someone else who didn't feel comfortable asking. And if you feel moved to, please share the video on your timeline or page, or if you'd rather, write a comment, tag somebody that you think this would benefit. And if you want to make sure to never miss me, click on the little down arrow by notifications and turn on the live notifications, because that'll be a great way for you to make sure to see me when I'm here. And so that's it for today. Thanks again for coming, and I hope to see you next month. It's actually just, at this point, 2 weeks away will be the next live gathering. And that one's going to be about service gaps, which I will be making an event for pretty soon. If you don't know what a service gap is, you can check that and it'll explain everything. Thanks again, everybody, and have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Administrative Professionals Day. Bye. Celebrate yourself. You deserve it.